And thanks for joining us this noon. I'm Tim Gordon, joined here right off the bat by Rod Hill with the very latest on today's forecast. Hey, Rod.
Hey, hi, everybody. Want to let you know right out of the gate that we do have an impact alert up for Wednesday and Thursday. We've got rain out there today. If you've been outdoors, you know generally there's no wind and the rain rates more than not have been gentle. But Wednesday and Thursday, we think we get hit with just repeated heavy rain bit after heavy rain bit, and there will be gusty winds mixed in. So let's put, for your planning purposes, that we're watching the weather on Wednesday and Thursday. Here's the big radar right now. We've got rain mostly light in Portland. There are some heavier rain pockets mixed in around Salem and up toward Canby, but overall right now it's just kind of a wet noon hour. There's our beautiful state capital with the fall colors. 49 degrees is the temperature. Here's the Vancouver the Springs at the waterfront camera with raindrops on the camera lens right now. The temperatures won't be doing anything really for the remainder of the day. 51 right now. I mean, I've got the high at 53. It's going to be raining, maybe not completely steadily, but more than not, all the way through mid-evening. So again, plan the remainder of your day accordingly. By the way, Tim, snow levels today, about 5,000 feet. We're picking up some light snow at Timberline Lodge, but the passes are okay. Back to you.
All right, Rod, thanks a lot. Busy week ahead for weather. Well, now to an update on SNAP food benefits in flux. Today, the Trump administration said it will partially fund the SNAP food aid program for November, following rulings by two federal judges. The USDA had planned to freeze payments due to the government shutdown. Now it will use an emergency fund covering about half the normal benefits. Officials say the department chose partial funding to safeguard other child nutrition programs. However, the amount beneficiaries receive is expected to be reduced, and it could take up to 2 weeks for the funds to load onto those debit cards. All right, here's a look at some headlines this afternoon. A 6.3 magnitude earthquake hit northern Afghanistan this morning, killing at least 20 people and injuring more than 300 others. The quake hit near one of Afghanistan's largest cities just before 1 a.m. there. Officials expect the death toll to climb as rescue crews reach more remote areas. It's the fourth major earthquake in Afghanistan since 2021. In Rome, one person was hurt after a medieval tower near the famous Roman Forum partially collapsed today during renovations. You see that happening right there. The incident trapped another person. Firefighters initially used a mobile ladder to rescue one worker who's now in critical condition. 3 others were rescued unharmed. However, during the ongoing rescue attempt, a second partial collapse sent a cloud of debris, forcing crews to temporarily pull back. The 13th century tower has a history of collapses, most recently in the 17th century. And in Louisiana, 2 young girls were seriously injured when they were thrown from a Ferris wheel on Saturday. The girls, both about 11 years old, authorities say a mechanical failure in their seat restraint may be to blame. Both were rushed to the hospital and are expected to survive. The state fire marshal has since inspected all the rides there. While the others have reopened, the Ferris wheel remains closed pending the investigation that continues there. And developing this afternoon, 3 shootings in the city since last night, including one in North Portland where a man was shot and killed near Delta Park. Today, Portland police telling us they'll be addressing the weekend violence in a press conference, which you can watch on KGW Plus in less than an hour from now. But for now, Sunrise reporter Thomas Schultz brings us up to speed on all 3 shooting investigations.
Well, look, Portland police have been busy and there's a lot to unpack here. We want to start with that fatal shooting that happened here near Delta Park. Portland police responded to the scene, they say, just before 10 o'clock last night, where they found a man shot. That man died. During the investigation near Delta Park, North Whitaker Road was closed between North Victory Boulevard and North Hayden Meadows Drive. There's still a lot we don't know about this shooting, including the name of the man who died. Portland police says that will be released once the family is notified. We also don't know what led up to this. So far, Portland police have not announced any arrest. Police also responded to a shooting on Northeast Thompson Court near 162nd Avenue just before midnight. Portland police say a 19-year-old man was shot and transported to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries after a party. And finally, there was a third shooting investigation on North Swiftway near Columbia Boulevard in the St. John's area. That happened near Cathedral Gardens apartment just before 3 o'clock this morning. It's unclear if there are any injuries as part of that shooting investigation. Portland police is also asking anybody with information about any of these investigations to contact them as soon as possible. In North Portland, Thomas Schultz, KGW News.
And police are also investigating a suspected shooting death in downtown Portland over the weekend. Officers found a man dead shortly before 4:30 Sunday morning near Southwest 3rd and Taylor. They say there was evidence he was shot, but a medical examiner is working to confirm the official cause of death. Portland police also say they haven't made any arrests and are asking anyone with information to give them a call. Investigators are looking for the driver involved in a hit and run in northeast Portland that sent a cyclist to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. It happened around 3:30 Sunday morning near northeast 82nd and Eugene. When officers got there, they say the driver had already taken off. Well, a federal judge here in Portland made another ruling blocking the Trump administration from deploying the National Guard to the city until at least Friday this week. In a statement, Oregon Governor Tina Kotek said the ruling is, quote, another affirmation of our democracy and the right to govern ourselves. KGW's Kyle Aboshi has more on the latest ruling and what it means.
National Guard troops on hold. Late Sunday, a federal judge blocked the Trump administration from deploying federalized troops to Portland. Judge Karen Immerget granted a preliminary injunction until later this week, when she'll make a final decision.
What's important is that right now, we know at least until Friday, there will be a preliminary injunction, and it's highly likely that this ruling will turn into a permanent injunction.
The order comes after a 3-day trial that ended last week. The state of Oregon, California, and city of Portland sued the Trump administration, arguing the president overstepped his authority. The feds claim the president has the right to deploy federalized troops, and federal officers need help protecting the ICE building in South Portland, for months a focal point of protest. In her ruling, Judge Immerget wrote, federal law enforcement, along with local law enforcement, were able to manage the situation by making arrests, and ICE officers were still able to do their job. Willamette University law professor Laura Appelman says Judge Immerget's order signals she'll likely issue a permanent injunction by the end of the week.
If there's a permanent injunction, that is not something that disappears in 14 days, but obviously by the very phrasing of it, it's permanent.
Oregon Attorney General Dan Rayfield celebrated Sunday's decision as a step toward truth and accountability, because for now, the National Guard still cannot be deployed to Portland. Kyle Aboshi, KGW News.
Now, the judge could provide a final decision on a permanent injunction at any time this week, but Friday is the deadline. Again, we're talking about a final decision at the district court level. But whoever comes out on the losing end will almost certainly take the case to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and after that, it could go all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. Well, President Trump is defending the actions of ICE agents during an interview with 60 Minutes.
No, I think they haven't gone far enough because we've been held back by the judges, by the liberal judges that were put in by Biden and by Obama.
And later in that interview, impressed about the use of force that ICE agents have sometimes used to detain people, the president responded by saying many of those people were murderers and criminals who were thrown out of their countries. 60 Minutes correspondent Nora O'Donnell countered by telling the president many deportees are not violent criminals, saying they're workers like landscapers and construction laborers. President Trump responded to that by calling them, quote, landscapers who are criminals. Election day is tomorrow, and in Southwest Washington, voters in Camas and Washougal will decide whether to fund a regional fire authority. In Vancouver, there's a proposal to increase property taxes to fund more police officers. And in Oregon, Washington County has a proposed levy to support public safety. Ballots must be postmarked by 8 o'clock tomorrow night or dropped in a ballot box by 8 o'clock in order to count in both Oregon and Washington.